What is it?
Well, I'm just thinking about your space because honestly, your space that you have going on over here, it kind of reminds
Spread
me
out.
of a Mexican restaurant when you're about to have fajita served. Like,
That's a really good.
we're at this giant table, and yet you barely have enough room because you need the fajitas, you need the chips,
I
you need
need
the
all
salsa.
the cheese, the guacamole, and they all come on a separate plate. Oh, I really want
You want some
Mexican
fajitas?
food right now.
Welcome to the Dishes Can Wait podcast. Join us at our table for thoughtful, funny conversations that flow so easily you'll forget to check the time. We hope you feel like a welcomed guest in our home, part of a circle of friends who linger after dinner for the stories, the laughter, and the kind of connection that makes the hours slip away unnoticed. Because the dishes can wait, but good conversation can't.
It's kind of gloomy out today, and it made me think. It made me start thinking about vibes. Vibes. What's one of your favorite kind of vibes?
You know I'm going to love this question because I'm an Enneagram 4 and I'm all about the vibes.
You're a viber.
The vibe that I want depends on my vibe.
Yep.
Because I'm like, if I want a gloomy day, if I'm in for just chilling and reading a book, having a cup of coffee, I want it to be cloudy or drizzly or rainy and cold. Oh, chef's kiss. But if I want to get stuff done, we can't have that vibe. I do want it to be chilly outside so I can open the windows.
Oh, yeah.
Move around, do some stuff. I got some music on, instrumental. Can't have any lyrics.
No. That would throw you off
Yeah,
of the productivity.
yeah. So
So you're telling me that there are moments that you're craving productivity vibe? Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever said that word in my life.
like if you're like feeling like you want to tackle your to-do list, or you're feeling like the inspiration to get stuff done, usually for me that's something creative, like I want to work on some writing, or like I'm editing or something creative, or if I am like wanting to clean the house, like I have a productive vibe that I want.
I love this for you.
What is it like in your brain?
So here's what I was thinking when you were talking about all that, right? Because you're like, so when you have that like gumption, you didn't say gumption, but like that gumption to tackle the to-do list, you want to create the vibe. But for me, if the inspiration hits and all of that drive tackle, the gumption to tackle my to-do list, and then I want to create a vibe, all of that momentum is now gone. Like, so when desire hits for that, I just have to do it. I'm not creating a vibe for that. If I spend too much time creating the vibe, the productivity mindset is gone.
I'm glitching. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand that for you, but I just
That is not how you work.
No, I
know you're
can't
like,
just-
I'm feeling productive. Let me prepare to be productive.
I'm like,
no way.
It's about the like my brain is tickling
The
thinking about
aesthetics.
it.
The aesthetics.
A little bit, yeah. Like I want to make something feel even better than it. Like if I'm like, okay, to-do list, let's just sit
Does
down
this
and
really
do it.
surprise you that I don't think
No.
about that?
No.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like, let's be honest. Very rarely do I just have like this, I think I want to tackle all my to-do list. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen for me. For me, a lot of my days are kind of busy, running. And so what often hits me is I need to rest.
That makes
And
sense.
then I create a vibe to rest.
That's very Enneagram 9 of you.
Then I created it. Welcome back to my perfected naps that we talked about.
Yeah.
Right. So, or
okay.
getting my show ready or whatever. But like productive wise, no. If I have to think about it, it's going to get procrastinated.
Well, it's not
no
even
to-do
about
list will happen.
productivity. It's like reading a book and sitting down and having a cup of. That's not. I mean, we could get on the nuance of the definition of productivity, but we don't
Correct.
need to. But even that, like, I don't want to just sit with the big light on. Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? No.
Whoa, we just went to E. We went to
No.
explicit.
Like the big light makes me say bad words.
Explicit, just like that. This
But
episode
no,
is brought
I'm
to you
like-
by Mature.
But no, I'm going to light a candle. I'm going to have a lamp. I want the mood to fit what's going on inside of me.
I do love this for you. So when I think about a vibe, it's not going to be inside.
Where's it going to be? Like inside of yourself or inside of the house?
It's not going to be inside the house.
You're just talking like an internal vibe? Like the vibe in your heart?
Like, so if I think of like, what is a perfect vibe? Like an example, I'll give you an example. There's been a
Please.
few of them. A few. There's not hundreds.
Oh,
of
I know what one is.
So
Go
one,
ahead.
for example, would be like your look right now would be like when you and I, soon after we got engaged, is an example of one. But soon after we got engaged in New York City, and soon after that we went to Central Park. We went to Central Park, which was a vibe. It was a very chill, low energy. We had a cup of coffee. We just kind of sat on the rocks, did goofy photos. That's a vibe for me for sure. But sitting at a coffee shop is almost always going to be a vibe for me. Just sitting at a coffee shop, talking with people, that's a vibe.
I thought you were going to talk about when we were at Disney last year.
That was totally a vibe. That's the
It was
best one I've had in the last
100%
year.
of a vibe. It was our last day.
That was my favorite moment in our entire trip.
It was our last day.
That's correct.
We were at Epcot and we were leaving and it was pouring rain and everybody, all the public is huddled under things and we're just like, we're going back to our hotel. We don't care if we get wet. We got our umbrellas, but we're still getting wet.
No
And
one
then
else was walking.
You're like me and the kids are just like,
and I'm
walking
strolling,
along,
right? I'm getting soaked. And I'm
Right.
like just strolling.
and you're like, hey, I'm going to stop and get a chai. I'm going to stop and get a chai. And you're standing there in the pouring rain.
What I did say is I wanted a coffee. I said, I think I want a coffee. Like we had a drink coupon still. I wanted a cup of coffee. And so I went to that little coffee stand and I said, well, what's the best thing y'all serve? Like pouring rain. What's the best thing y'all serve? And they're like, I really like the chai. Like, I'm down for that. That's the vibe. Right. And so I got my chai. I'm holding it.
You're just strolling up to us. Rain's pouring. You got your umbrella. You got your chai. You're like, this is a good
Life
chai.
is
You want to
good.
try it?
Life
I'm like,
is good.
dripping. I'm like, sure. Yeah, actually. And it was a vibe. I feel like that's being in the present moment. Like we've talked about that before, that was very much that.
I agree with that. And so we've also talked about being a higher self. I think that vibe for me that you brought up there with the Epcot Chai Walk, that's actually me in a healthier version because in reality, like, yes, I'm very much in the moment, but that was also could have been a very chaotic, stressful moment. And I crave peace. And so here I was in this fairly, what could have been a chaotic moment. And I just chose peace in the midst of all that chaos. Like, because I could have been huddled against the sides and all that. And we did for about 20 seconds. And then I'm like,
There's too many
let's
people
just
here.
go. Yeah, it's too many people, right? Let's just go.
I'd
And
rather
so,
be
like,
soaking wet than in a crowd full of people.
which I guess there is a debate to say that is me choosing peace because the other option would have been staying with all the people and that felt insane.
Yeah.
And so instead, that is me in a higher version going, man, it's very chaotic. It could be very stressful. Let's just enjoy this and make this be a very peaceful moment. That was definitely a vibe. That was my favorite moment by far of our Disney trip.
So I went to a lecture a couple of weeks ago. My friend Bethany, she's getting her Master's of Divinity, and she invited me to a lecture at Baylor in Waco to hear Dr. Rowan Williams talk. And it was 2 days, and there were several things I wrote down that he said that were just so stunning. And one of them, we were at a Q&A dinner, and someone asked him, I don't remember the exact question, but it was about what sort of things do you recommend to embody our humanity? Because, the whole lecture, which was stunning, it was very theological and cerebral.
That was a vibe.
It was very intense. And so
You're like going back to right now.
I know
You have
I
hands
am
on your brain.
And so the person was asking like, okay, we've been up here. How do we move that from our brain into our bodies? And he said, take a walk in the rain. Like getting caught in the rain
Full circle.
and just getting wet, you have no control over it. And it reminds you of exactly how human you are. And I was
And you thought of Epcot.
not in that moment. I
And now you
didn't,
did.
but now I did because it's so true. How like what a beautiful embodiment practice to just come back to like our humanity. Anyway, I really want to talk about my playwriting class this summer, but I also am like I don't want it to be all about me. So that's what I'm battling right now is talking about that. But it was transformative for me. Your face right now. It's cracking me up.
I love this. This is awesome.
Patronizing me.
I'm not patronizing you. I am. This was a great class for you. Here's the brain in the face that you saw.
Yes, please.
Is
Let
I'm
me in.
going. That's a wonderful topic. It was so rejuvenating for you. It was so life-giving, transformative. I don't know what to add to that. That's what. And I was like, I could go into interview format here and just interview you. This could be, I'll be the interviewer and you'll be the host today. That's what the face was.
Okay.
Tell us about your play, Hannah.
Well, I don't have to tell you about the play.
Okay.
Okay.
We can move on to question 2 that I have on my iPad here. Question number 2.
No, okay. Here's what I want to talk about. No, here's what I want to
Have
talk
you
about.
always liked the idea of writing a play?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
I never imagined myself as a playwright, even though the most consistent form of creativity I've had throughout my entire life has been writing. But I have been writing some sort of script my entire life. Starting as a kid, I would watch the Carol Burnett show, and then I would write my own sketches and then make all of my neighborhood friends perform them with me.
Who did not even know who Carol Burnett was.
Exactly. And then just writing consistently throughout my life and not in any sort of professional form until way after college. But then I've tried to get 2 nonfiction books published and just hitting a wall with that. And so I had an idea for a play that started maybe well over a year ago, maybe a year half ago. It wasn't so much an idea for the play as much as like characters in my head. But I was like, I'm working on this book proposal right now. I can't focus on a play. And plus, like, I haven't been in theater in like 15 years. But then
you were shutting it down, essentially.
Yeah, I was definitely
quieting the voices.
shutting it down. But then, and this is like the universe just puts tiny little crumbs in our path that we can choose to follow or not. And I did. And so I was trying to go through a literary agent, and I didn't want to go straight to a small publisher. I didn't want to self-publish. I just felt like I wanted to do the traditional route. And I had a couple of friends recommend a small publishing house, and they were like, just submit directly to they're a great publishing house, very reputable. I was like, okay, fine. And this is after maybe 10 months of consistently sending out my proposal to agents. And I was like, okay, fine. And so I sent my proposal to this publishing house and got almost an immediate answer. And it was around Christmas last year. And they were like, we're on our Christmas break. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And maybe a month later, he got back to me and not just read through my proposal, but went and researched me and read things that I've written on the internet and came back with some very helpful feedback and ideas and suggested we set up a meeting. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course. And so we had a phone call, and I I had a feeling it was going to be like, no, just because that's what I got from the email. And honestly, I know I'm getting into like a whole thing. Like publishing is a business. And if you don't have a platform
Right.
to sell books to your platform, to your followers,
They don't want to invest in you.
right. And I don't have a big platform, but I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. The only thing I can do is try. Like do the work and then put it in front of people and try. And so that was one of the same situations, but instead of just saying no thank you, he was like, I've noticed that in your writing you talk a lot about creativity and play, and asked me a bunch of questions about how my play and my creativity has been impacted by high control religion, which is what I was writing about. I was writing about deconstruction. And I was like, well, let me tell you about it. And realized that I had a lot of things to say about play and creativity and ways that it can be suppressed.
Right.
And he was like, perhaps this is something you should
Right.
think.
Maybe this is a lane to look into.
Yes. And I was like,
And it felt right in your spirit.
it was like something came alive in me. I was like, this is what I want to write about.
I wonder if that was like younger Hannah coming alive.
Oh, I'm sure. Like my inner child was like,
Well, you said something coming alive. It was like the quiet version. Like that was the younger Hannah coming alive.
right. Yeah. And so, but here's what I told myself. I had just started taking voice lessons again. I had just started getting back into this sense of play for myself. I've always played with our kids in external ways. I'm creative in play, but I was like, I'm going to do it for me. So one of the things I told myself, I was like, if I'm going to write about it, I'm going to be about it. And so I started looking for more intentional ways to practice play and practice creativity. And I was like, you know what? I've had this idea for this play for a while. Maybe I should find a workshop or a class or something where I could figure out how to get it out of my head and onto paper. And there's a woman that I went to undergrad with who's an incredible playwright. And I was like, I need to reach out to her. For months, I was telling myself, just reach out to her. Ask her if there's any sort of class you could take.
Right.
And then I'm on Facebook one day and she posts, she does like these updates of what's going on in her work and professional life and stuff. And she's like, hey, I'm teaching this class this summer about writing a full-length play. And at the end of the class, the goal is to have written the play, and we will have a workshop. We'll bring in actors. And I was like, this is what I need to do. And so I did it. And I don't know if I've ever been more focused and intentional with anything in my life in a long time. And it was like, I'm getting emotional about it. It was so wonderful and beautiful. And it was very hard. But I was like, I'm doing this thing. And I felt like I was in the exact right place. And I finished my play and we had a workshop and real actors came in and read my play and it was incredibly beautiful. And when they clapped for me, I was like, I can't make eye contact with y'all. It was so much fun. And then I worked on a second draft and I got it submitted. And so I'm in waiting mode for that, which is fine. I'm just trusting that the universe is going to put me exactly where I need to be and my play exactly where it needs to be. But that's what I worked on this summer. But then a couple of weeks ago, I went to a new play festival and they had a playwrights panel and there were a couple of playwrights sitting there talking about the process of storytelling and playwriting. And I'm not saying this to be egotistical or anything, but like that's not where this is coming from. But as I was listening to them talking, I was holding back tears because I was like, that I can do that. Not just because, I've written a play. No, because it's like in me.
Right.
Like I feel it in me in the deepest parts of me.
I don't know if you have an egotistical bone in your body.
Thank you.
I mean, it's true.
That is.
I mean, you battle a lot of shame and lack of self-worth at times, but I like egotistical? No. Anybody who's ever thought about that about you doesn't know you.
I'm going to be playing that on loop over and over. Thank you.
I mean, it's true.
So I feel like I am in my lane and doing what I'm meant to be doing. And That's what I've been working on.
Yeah,
you for your time.
you're like swimming without floaties and everything, you know?
Yeah. And I
Like you felt like it was going to be in the deep end, but instead you actually floated and learned how to swim pretty quickly.
Thanks. I feel like I have. And it's also, I've talked in past episodes about perfectionism, and it's been a great practice for me in that,
And being perfect.
in allowing the process to unfold.
Right.
And that it's like,
Your
just,
caterpillarism.
but for example, like when you're writing, you're in your own writing den, and it's your own world, and you don't necessarily, it's a totally different thing whenever other people are reading it out loud and you can see it.
So vulnerable.
I saw, I wish I could remember, it's a vocal coach on TikTok and Instagram. I'll find him and link him in the description. But he was talking about how practice is just information gathering. And that's what I realized. Like, this coach or teacher put language to what I was learning throughout this process. Is like, I was just gathering it. I was doing the work, gathering information. And then when it was put into a new sort of format, there was new information to gather. So then I could rework it and make it what it was meant to be, or what I feel it was meant to be. Anyway, thank you for listening, and thank you for interviewing me.
Well, I was like, proud is a great word, except for like you're not trying to reach some status that therefore your husband is proud of you. But like, there was a lot of like, I mean, that's my wife. Look at her go. Like, because you had it recorded, like the audio recording. So I got to hear the audio recording. Plus,
Like when it was
obviously, you and I
workshopped.
had read
Yeah.
the draft 107 times.
Thank you for that.
And so like, they're all living in my head as well. And that's because you brought them to life, right? So you had these characters that you had been playing around in your brain for a long time. And then I got to see it come to life. So
That's really sweet.
verklempt.
And I really do think of those characters. It's 3 middle-aged women. I really do think of them as real people. And right now they're just sitting in a drawer waiting to come to life again. And I'm like, just hang in there. We're going to get there.
Right.
Anyway,
Like, just hang in there, ladies.
something's going to happen. It will. I know it will.
They're resting.
Yes. They worked really hard this
They've
summer
worked really hard.
to come to life.
They've gone through a lot together.
They have. I will tell you the plot real quick.
Oh,
Just the elevator pitch.
teaser.
It's about 3 middle-aged sisters who are
Isn't there a song about sisters?
from White Christmas.
That's the one.
I couldn't use it because it's copyrighted.
No, I know. I was just baiting you again.
And I held my ground.
Barely, but if I would have gone sisters, there's never been such devoted sisters. So
Never had to have
Never.
a chaperone, no sir. But I'm here to keep
my eyes
eye
on you.
her.
Okay, so
It's
Three
about 3
middle-aged
middle-aged
sisters.
sisters who come together
we're related through
After-
sisterhood.
and by blood to wait for it's just a lighthearted story where they wait for the impending death of their dad, and just discovering, realizing all of the events in their life that have led them to put up the walls and make the choices that they have to this point, and being faced with the decision about how they want to move forward in their second half of life. To quote Father Richard Rohr from Falling Upward, talking about first half of life and second half of life. So that is the very loose plot of my play. Topic change. Are you ready?
Topic change.
Topic change. So I've been editing the podcast and taking notes about things we say we can talk about later on, or like throughout the podcast. And I have a list of a few things. And one of the things we can talk about is the shift from our OG podcast to this one, because you mentioned it was set up, like our last podcast was set up like you were the professional and I was the sidekick host, kind of like
The beautiful sidekick host, I think that's what
you
it said.
did say that, kind of like Howard Stern and Robin.
Oh, okay.
Is that a good. That's well, except it wasn't a Howard Stern, like very much not so. No shade to Howard Stern, but we had a way different vibe than Howard Stern. I just want to make that clear. It was a very churchy, religious podcast.
Not private parts. Right. Okay. Cool.
You know, I never saw that because just the cover, the poster alone was
risque.
So risque in my home of origin. Anyway, so I want to talk about what that was and how this one is different. How the dishes can wait is different
Okay.
than a stronger knot.
Oh, you even
I
named it.
Wow.
Wow.
I named it.
Okay. So you want to talk about the shift. So, because I said I thought we talked about that already in our episode 0. Mm-hmm. And you said,
We did not.
we did not.
We just said there was a shift.
Well, there's lots of shifts. So,
Yes.
So when I originally said it, I was just talking about what you already said. But there's also been...
What I already said about how you were like the host and I was
Yes.
the beautiful sidekick.
Yes, and this
Yeah.
was going to be not just marriage related or anything like that.
Right.
Not just a therapist aspect of that. Well, and plus we like walked through chapter by chapter of the book.
Yes, because I don't think we talked about that. Erin is a published author and has a book written. I know. And you know how people change and evolve over time. So if you read that book, know that people change and evolve over time.
It's true.
And
There's still a lot of good stuff in that book.
yes, there is. And so we had a podcast that was based off of the concept of that book, which was about marriage. And you are the licensed professional counselor. And so you led that discussion and narrative. And so whenever we talked about coming back to do another podcast, I did say, I was like, I'm not interested in being the sidekick. I want it to be a team effort.
And I didn't want that either.
Yeah, absolutely. You were like, no, I don't want it to be that either. You made sure that was clear. And I've said this word like 3 times this week, unfolding. So we both grew up in high control evangelical Christianity.
Different
veins of it, but the same umbrella. And we're very much entrenched
I feel
in
like
that.
yours was more controlled. Your growing up than mine was.
Yeah. And so
Anyway, I said that because yours I would have definitely said, like we both entered that in later on, but early on I wouldn't have called mine high control.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. We're putting definitions to words publicly. Like privately, we talk about that and we know what each other is saying. But for the sake of clarity for the public, I think it's important to talk about that.
Okay, then let's go there.
Okay,
So,
let's do it.
I mean, let's go there then, right? So our story, we talked about our story a little bit, but just like a little bit of that background, right? Grew up in very religious Christian, I'm putting Christian in quotes, whatever that means to people. You and I have, it's a loaded word. But that's what we grew up, right? Like even after we started dating, soon after we started dating, like this was going to be my life. Like this was going to be my career. I was going to be in vocational ministry. Even in counseling career, I worked at a church, even post vocational ministry. Vocational meaning that would be what I do for a career. Even in that space, even when I went into the counseling world, I still worked at a church. I mean, this was very much ours. We did Christian conferences. I mean, we did all of the things. And then we don't do that anymore. So here's the moment. Like, let's, is that what we're talking about? Like,
I was saying it was an unfolding.
Unfolding, I think you did say unfolding.
So for me, it was like a very long unfolding to finally come to a point where...
But that's us in general. For you, it's a slower
true.
process. For me, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, because for you, the unfolding began way earlier than it did for me. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, your unfolding began sitting right here at this table. You were right there. I was just over here. And you said, do you remember what you said?
I don't.
The first one that you said is like, what would you think if I weren't a Christian anymore? Mm-hmm. That was the first one you asked me. Mm-hmm. That was the first question. So,
And what was your answer? Do you want to talk about that?
what was my answer? I don't remember exactly. I can tell you what I remember feeling, and I remember that aspect of it. And my first feeling was angst, not necessarily about the religion itself, the idea of that. Most of it for me in that moment was about the security of our own marriage, because I remember thinking like, well, we always said that we would never get divorced. Don't ask me how that's what I do as the marriage guy. We just talked about that, right? And so, but that's where I'm going. Well, we said that because God doesn't like divorce, right? That's a whole nother thing.
So me saying I don't know if I'm a Christian anymore, in your head that was like divorce all of a sudden became on the table.
It
because
wasn't
the
necessarily
thing-
on the table. It wasn't like I thought you were calling quits, but it was more like I thought that, it's irrational what I thought, honestly, right? Like I recognize that now. Yeah. I recognize that within about 5 minutes of me saying it, right? Like a lot of the things that I have to say out loud, we've talked about how I'm an external processor, kind of like, we haven't talked about how we got into adoption and all that kind of stuff, but the same thing happened. Even in that moment, I expressed like my deepest fears going into adoption. And so my deepest fear here was that there was no binder holding us together, like that God was the glue. Jesus and God were the glue for our marriage. And if that was no longer there, then what did that mean? Mm-hmm. That's what it was for me.
Yeah.
So
thank you for sharing that. That was so vulnerable. But for me, it was like a slow process. And you said like no longer calling ourselves Christian, and
that was the way you asked it.
Yeah. And
if I no longer identified as being a Christian, that's the way you asked me the question.
And I think this is getting super deep into the weeds, but I've for my sake, and I guess just to put definitions to words, because Christian has meant a variety of things over the span of time that Christianity has existed. And so it's been important to me to put definitions on things. And so in my head, Christianity, there's 3 forms of Christianity that I have defined in my own brain. The first one is creedal Christianity, which is where you believe in the creeds, like Jesus is the Son of God, came, died on the cross for our sins. That. Then there's cultural Christianity, which is, look at the state of politics in America. And then you have Christ consciousness Christianity. And so I came to a point, for me personally, where I was like, where do I want to put faith? Because faith and certainty can't coexist together. So if we're certain that this is what happened, that's not faith. And so did I want to put my faith that in the resurrection was what it came down to me? And I said,
and you weren't sure you could.
For me, I don't want to spend the energy of my faith putting it into a belief in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Do I respect people who believe that? Absolutely. Like humans are, for our entire existence, have been looking for some sort of connection to something bigger than ourselves. And that is something that I hold as sacred for other people, not for me. Definitely not a number 2 cultural Christian.
Number 2, you can take a number 2 on.
Correct. And number 3, do I want to be a Christ consciousness Christian? Absolutely.
Yes, right. But that's different than number 1.
It is different than number 1. And so would I call myself a Christian in the third kind of way? Yes, I would. Because
but nobody else knows those definitions.
Right. And so, but in the grand scheme of things, people are mostly looking at number 1.
Number 1 and sometimes number 2.
And yeah.
Number 3 is never part of the conversation.
Right. And so therefore I'm like, no, based on a broader definition of what Christianity is. I can't call myself a Christian, even though my heart is to have a Christ-like consciousness that is love and light in the world. And so I just jumped right into the end. But the unfolding was, for me, probably 5 or 6 years of, I mean, I feel like the kind of reading and work and research that I did, I could have gotten a master's degree if I were in some sort of program with the kind of learning that I was doing, because it was my entire foundation. And I was like,
Welcome to why I thought it was the foundation of our marriage.
exactly.
Right?
And
Like,
so, and honestly, like whenever people are faced with like one bit of cognitive dissonance and they refuse to acknowledge it, I have empathy for that, because I'm like, if this one thing cracks, like the whole thing could come tumbling down. And like I think of people like my grandmother, who was 102 when she died. Like
she was old.
There was no way I would ever
No.
be like, actually, here's all the,
There's no
in
reason
the brain.
for that.
There's no reason for that, because that feels inhumane.
Feels cruel, yeah.
Right. So it's like, let people have their faith. And we want to ask the question, like, are they causing harm? Is it when it's appropriate?
Well, and you're not wrong, like, on this idea of, like, what you're talking about, like, pulling a thread is essentially what you're talking about, that cognitive dissonance. If you can't go there, then it might all crash. And that's but I also think sometimes, like, for you and I, those are questions that we had to ask. Like, and that is the vulnerable question that I was essentially asking.
Yeah.
Like, is our marriage stronger than just the God between us? Right. And I had to confront that idea. Right. Which didn't take me long to do. But like I had to be honest about that, because if it was, man, then we weren't doing great in the first place. Right. We would have been like, that would have all come crashing down. But instead what it did is it removed an escape clause. That's not the right word, but like
No, I know what you mean. Like if like our marriage wasn't solid outside of that, and then I am no longer a Christian, but you still
Then what?
decide to be a Christian, like does the whole thing come crumbling
right. And
down?
it's not like I'm honestly,
because divorce, it's not like divorce was on the table.
we've
but
never been anywhere close to that.
No. We're in this, we don't even have passports to go there at this point. Like, like that's not even in the discussion. But all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, the one thing that we thought was keeping us together, which was like a covenant marriage, because
Covenant. That was the word,
covenant, that's
right.
the word. Then there's no longer a covenant, and so now there's an out. But
That's
there's
what
not an out, because we're good.
and that
but
go-
you needed to process that.
I did, and that also goes back into my own insecurities about relationships and all that kind of stuff, right? And so all of that kind of stuff is what the out. That's what it was. It was like you go from, we're at, I don't know, whatever a scale is. We are honestly in a very, very healthy place at that point. Maybe always, honestly, in our relationship. Like that's something we really fight hard for. That's something I think you've been very intentional about as well. But like, we're in a very
You have
and
to,
so
by the way.
Agreed. We have that it takes both of us to do that. And so like it went from really healthy place to one question made me go, let's unravel it all. And what happens if all these next 127,000 things go wrong? Then what? That's why for that piece of it, I actually had to confront that before I could ever actually go to the
actual
faith piece of it.
deconstruction.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because if one of the things that you care about the most would crumble from a faith deconstruction, why would you even?
Why would I ever want to?
Why would you
consider
want to
that?
do that?
Yeah, I don't ever want to lose you.
And I can understand that's why people don't do that, because they have so much. There's so much. Could be so much
Right.
to lose if they decided to do that. And not to say this isn't the case for other people, but for me personally, it was a matter of my own personal integrity and my own authenticity to live my life with just truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the Christianity that we're familiar with, like the phrase is like, all truth is God's truth. And like God is truth, the Bible is truth, and we can hold space for that. But also, like, what I realized was, like, people go to seminary and they're studying stuff that is never taught from the pulpit. That was one of the things that made me the most angry. Like,
no kidding.
I felt so lied to. Like, give me the autonomy to have the choice to choose what I want to believe. And I was never given the choice. Any sort of questions or curiosity I had was considered confrontational and lack of faith. And so it just shuts it all down. That was throughout the whole process. I had a lot of openness and a lot of graciousness and a lot of curiosity. But when I realized that there was information out there that clergy knew and studied in seminary, but then didn't offer that as offer that opportunity for critical thinking.
Now, I'm sure some did.
I'm
sure some did.
Right. And that is a super overarching statement. And I don't mean that in every case, but in my experience, in my life, no.
Well, it reminds me of, like, even going way back when, like, certain people couldn't read or write, right? And only the elite, the powerful, had access to their sacred scriptures, and they got to tell you what it said. It's like that same concept.
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about even more nuance than that, but it's like,
so that's why going to this lecture series with Rowan Williams heals like a little bit in me. Every time I'm in a Christian space, a spiritual space, and there's room for curiosity and doubt and questions and a connection between cognitive thinking and embodiment, because theology is like up here. You also have to connect it with the human experience. I mean, that's why, like, Jesus became from this into this. Anytime I'm in a space that's like that, heals a part of me.
absolutely.
And so I don't know. So all that to say,
This isn't a Christian podcast necessarily.
that's what we're saying.
But also, like you're talking about this sacredness and this respect. I mean, like, it's not like we take a number 2 on people who are in that space. Like those, some of our best friends are still deeply, deeply in that space.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I say that because we've probably already lost some listeners in the last 15 minutes.
That's okay.
Right. And that's okay. Right. Also, what we're saying is we're also open for a curiosity of conversation. It's not like you have to be where we've landed in order to hold space for that. But that's also rare in our society.
Right. Is the curiosity.
And even holding space for different people and different thoughts and beliefs and
right. I just felt us both go like this with just like the desperation for people to be curious and empathetic and like just being able to have a relationship with another human who doesn't see the world the same way that you do.
Right.
It doesn't believe the same things that you do. And a lot of my undoing from religion has been realizing that because so much of it is so insular. Is that the right word? Insular? Like insulated? You can't be unequally yoked, not just with your spouse, but with your friendships.
Yeah.
And it's very evangelical. You're always trying to save someone from the fiery pits of hell. And so there's always an unequal power balance. If you see someone as someone to save, you're seeing them below you.
Right.
And so a lot of my undoing, even now outside of it, has been realizing how much of that was so subconscious in me. And so when I see it practiced, like one of our friends does so much multi-faith work, and it, oh my God.
Yeah.
It makes me want to cry. And that's what it's about to me.
Right.
Is like, you can have your convictions, you can have your beliefs, but that is also your neighbor.
Right.
And so there's something that is incredibly beautiful having, like, not agreeing with someone, but holding such a tenderness and a respect for their beliefs and convictions, while also holding them accountable for
Sure.
any harm that it causes. I don't want to, like, bypass that. But when it comes to, like, their relationship to divinity, that's sacred and that's beautiful. And
Well, it's such a subjective experience,
right.
right? Like, I mean, the truth is, I only know what it's like to have lived my own experience, right? Even you and I have been together, 19 and a half years or so. I still only know what it's like to live, like, in my experience, even in our own relationship. Like, I don't know what it's like to be married to me.
It's
Right.
pretty good.
But I'm just
pretty
saying,
great.
right? Like, and yet we're talking about something so deeply impactful and personal. The reason curiosity matters is because it means that we're having to listen to somebody else's side while not negating or shutting down our own. And oftentimes asking those questions feels like an attack or an affront to our own side, and it's not.
Yeah.
But that's why it takes really knowing who you are, honestly, and figuring out your own identity or your own purpose or your own drive, and like what makes Hannah Hannah, what makes Aaron Aaron, in order to hold space for other people. Because if what they say somehow challenges me, no wonder I'm gonna fight about it. But it's not supposed to challenge, and it really doesn't. But that's what it feels like.
And I don't know if this is relevant, but I do want to, like, yeah, it is. It is important to acknowledge that we all do have our own subjective realities when it comes to our experience in religion, in church, in being human, period. I do want to acknowledge, though, that there are, like, systems
Of oppression.
that operate in religion. And so, especially in that second category of Christianity, the cultural Christianity does have systems of oppression that, like, yeah, we all have our subjective experience with it, but it is still a pattern of systemic behavior that does need to be addressed. But what you say is absolutely 100% true, is we all have our own subjective realities and experiences with it. We went from, like,
The shift.
right, this is what it's like to just sit at our table and have a conversation with us. It's like, we're going to talk funny, and then we're going to go, phew. We have a joke saying that we go deeper faster. I really wanted to name the podcast that, but I knew, like, we couldn't do it. But that's our secret little name for it. Do you think that we have time for a question from the sack of something?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right. Now we're going to ask a question.
Do you know that,
The sack
like,
of something.
you talked about the idea of not wanting to move it back and forth in a prior episode, the sack, and now it's on the kitchen
I
table.
know, now
where
it's on
I
the
first
kitchen table,
suggested
but
to
it's
begin
fine.
with. It is where
Because I picked out the best questions.
it is where I first suggested to be in the first place.
Hey, this is a part of my process
But it also works.
of learning about perfectionism. And
Let's say the word again.
Caterpillarism. Okay,
All right.
you
Sack of something.
are you
I got it.
you got it.
I got it. Do you think the image you have of yourself matches the image people see you as?
Oh. You answer the question first.
This is a complicated question for me to answer. And it's complicated because it depends on what we mean by people in this category, because there are people who know me on a personal level. There's people who know me on a professional level. And I have no idea if it matches what professional people think of me, because they don't necessarily, they might have their own opinion of me, or their own. Plus, a lot of times in therapy world, clients, that's what I call them, clients, think that their therapist agrees with a lot of their ideologies, their own, right? Some of them I do, some of them I don't. But therefore, in that case, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because they don't necessarily get the authentic, full version. I mean, they get the authentic
that's not
version
the
of
role
myself.
you're
They
meant to
get
play.
that version of me. That's
Yeah.
an authentic version of myself, but it's not the vulnerable, raw version of myself. If I think other people, like people in my life who are on a relational level outside of a work dynamic, power dynamic there, I think most people probably have a similar view that I do of myself, except for the fact that I think I'm also a little more harsh on myself, right? Like I kind of see like my own insecurities and faults. I think a lot of us do that, but so that I think sometimes I heighten my own insecurities more than other people see those. So that's an example of that. But I find myself pretty funny. I think that is, if you don't see that,
Something's wrong with you.
I think your humor,
Not
your,
that something's wrong with you. You just
but
have a
your-
different style of
your
humor.
humor meter is broken. That's a fair statement. I think it's fairly objective. Yeah, I mean, I do pride myself on my sense of humor. And so I do think people see that. If they don't, then either that or they just probably haven't been around me enough.
Yeah.
As far as like what I have to offer the world, like, because, Enneagram 9, oftentimes you go, man, do I matter? Like, does my presence even matter? That I think I heighten in my own self, right? That like, I know people probably care, but sometimes I don't necessarily feel that. I don't know. Am I answering the question okay? Did I do well? Did I pass?
Do you feel like you answered the question well?
I don't know. Did I even answer the question? Do you
Read the
think-
question again.
Do you think the image, like, do they mean my body image?
I thought the same thing and had the same question in my head, but I think it's like who you are as a
I
whole.
went with like my aura.
Yeah. I think that's what it's asking.
I mean, if we're talking about body image, I don't want to do that. If we're talking, do you think the image you have of yourself matches the image people see you as? I think I did fine. I think I did fine.
Okay. I like having eyes on it while I'm answering it.
It says, do you think the image that you have of yourself matches the image other people have of you?
This reminds me of something I said in, I think, episode 1, where I talked about being an Enneagram 4.
You've talked about that in a lot of them, but you did mention it in Enneagram 1 and today.
Because how can you really ever know me?
Yep, you did say that.
But I mean, that's more of like, I think maybe a wound talking, and not necessarily like my healthiest version of me. I think I'm probably more quiet and reserved to people who aren't even like in the first couple of concentric circles around me. Because I am an internal processor.
Sure.
And I want what I say to be of value. And so I process a lot in my head first, but I think I am my authentic self when I'm alone. And
When you're alone, when you're by yourself in the tub.
like the person I am when I'm alone or when I'm with my close people, I'm the same person in public. I mean, we all do have like our phone voice, you know what I mean? So I am just
I don't
like,
ever answer the phone.
I know, right? I don't either, but
I've lost my phone voice.
you don't even keep your phone on ringer anymore.
No, I don't ever want to
I
have my
know.
phone ring.
But you know what I mean? You have a different tone when you answer the phone. You're still yourself, but you have your phone tone.
You're what?
Your phone tone.
Phone tone? I go, hello?
Hey, how's it going? It's a little more
Yeah,
commercial,
I follow
but
you.
it's still me. So I do, yeah, I think the two are congruent. I want them to be congruent. So maybe I'm answering from the desire of my heart.
Can I answer it for you?
Oh, please. Please answer for me.
Thank you. I agree with you, especially when you're talking about like I'm not going to say 2 concentric circles. I'll say 1.
Okay.
Your inner close people, I think, see you the exact same way that you see yourself. I don't think anyone else does. Oh. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's because you have to mask.
Oh, well, shoot. I wanted to say shit.
You've already
Shit,
said
Aaron.
the F-bomb.
I know. So we already have an E on it. So.
Right. So I think you have to mask a lot of times.
Damn,
but
Aaron.
But that's due to autism.
You're right.
That's just because of autism and safety. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. So
But they
scratch
might-
everything I said.
Right. So they might see
Mark
you
it off the dry erase board.
they might see you as like quiet all the time or not engaged. And really that's you engaging in a way that you're able to show up.
I just have an RBF.
Like, because I think you're the most incredible human on the planet. But I also can see, like, if people aren't around you all the time, they don't necessarily know all the details and the nuances that I know that you go through every single day.
Oh, okay. That's true.
But your close people, absolutely, I think, have the same image of yourself. Like your quirkiness, your creativity, your right, all of the things.
Yeah.
Right, like your humor. Like there's probably a lot of people in concentric 2 or 3 who don't know you're funny. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Right? They might
But,
not know what the sound of your voice. Beautiful. Right, you just got your headphones on and
They listen to this podcast. They're like, "Oh, that's what Hannah sounds
noise
like."
canceling headphones on. Your cocoon of a jacket and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
that's so funny.
I say concentric circle 1, 100%, but it's because of belt safety.
Belt safety.
Built
Built.
safety, but there's also a felt safety there as well. Like you
Yeah.
feel safe, but I mean, like you built that safety with those people.
You answering the question for me makes me feel like my answer was so unaware, like unself-aware.
But at the same time, but I don't know if it is, because I think I'll echo where you were coming from.
Okay.
Right? Because when you are in a setting that's outside those few people, masking and maybe hiding quirks or nuances or whatever we want to call those, right? Your autistic self is a version you see of yourself, right? Like I think you do see that you're doing that,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like,
I mean, that is true. I was saying I'm still authentic. It is like I'm imagining myself at like an event this week, and I was still myself, but I was more professional, I guess you would say. It was appropriate for the setting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not being me, or it's just a different,
facet.
yeah, it's a different outfit.
Kind of like
that
how
I'm
I was
wearing.
giving the differentiation between like clients and people. Like, I mean,
Yes.
clients are people, obviously, but I just mean like clients and people who
Yes.
know me outside of that.
Yes.
It's a different setting. And so I was just kind of like expressing the two different areas for you.
That's a good point. Yeah. Thank you. Well, this has been such a fun episode. So thank you, public, for spending time with us for this episode. Thank you, my love, for spending time with me today. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here and listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, follow the show and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify so you never miss an episode. You can also join the conversation and subscribe to our Substack or follow us on social media. You can find all those links and everything we're up to at thedishescanwait.com. We'll see you next time on the Dishes Can Wait podcast.